Where did language come from? 1. Throughout this book, I have been promoting the idea that the human language faculty is a part of our biological constitution, a specific faculty that is precisely tuned to the nature of language and that no other animal has. So the logical question is, where did it come from? Although it is an obvious question to ask, how to go about answering it is much less obvious. Language does not leave any traces in the fossil record or elsewhere of the sort that normally guide accounts of the course of evolution. Acts of speaking or signing do not leave anything behind that we could dig up thousands of years later. Even the apparatus we use for speaking is largely elusive. It is almost entirely composed of soft tissue that leaves no long-term residue either. For a long time, these problems did not stop people from speculating about how language might have arisen. This was actually a rather popular topic among Romantic philosophers. With the rise of a more scientific approach to language in the 19th century, discussions of language that were not based in empirical fact came to be discouraged. Famously, the Linguistic Society of Paris, in its Constitution of 1866, said that papers presented to the society could deal with any topic concerning language except two. These were the origin of language and the construction of international auxiliary languages like Esperanto or Volapük. What these topics have in common is that, at least as far as people could judge in 1866, both are matters of opinion and speculation, not science. Were the founders of the society right in barring language origins? Or can we say anything serious about where the language faculty came from? If we believe in literal biblical creationism, there is no problem. But if we are not satisfied with that answer, we have to imagine that it arose during a much longer course of human evolution. Where did language come from? 2. Saying that the language ability arose during the course of evolution is not exactly the same as saying that human language arose through evolutionary mechanisms, and there are in fact two divergent views on the matter. One school, with which Chomsky has become associated, holds that language is so unusual and so unconnected with anything else in the animal world that it could not have arisen gradually through evolutionary pressures. Instead, some other combination of changes in, say, brain size and complexity must have yielded language as an accidental byproduct in a sudden, discontinuous way. This position is not popular because without a proposal for just what those factors might be and how language could arise as a consequence of something like overall neural complexity, the question is reduced to pure mystery. Unfortunately, that might well be the right answer. Chomsky has suggested on several occasions that within the range of questions we might ask about the world, there is a difference between problems and mysteries. Problems are questions that we can ask and for which we can seek evidence that might lead us to answers. Mysteries are questions that we can formulate perfectly well, but to which there may not be any answers. Either no possible evidence exists that could bear on the mystery, or our own cognitive limitations would prevent us from making sense of the answer, something like Douglas Adams' 42 as the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Where did language come from? 3. The alternative, associated with Steven Pinker, Ray Jackendoff, and others, is to say that language must have arisen through the normal mechanisms of Darwinian evolution, or at least that that is the only possible scientific approach. Within the last decade or so, this area of interest has become increasingly popular. Some of the writing is not particularly serious because it is not informed by much knowledge of what the human language faculty really is like. But with linguists participating more and more in the discussion, the level of sophistication has risen significantly. If we take the origin of language to be a matter subject to scientific investigation, we can probably assume that it corresponds to a unique set of events rather than a number of parallel but independent inventions. Otherwise, we would probably find at least some trace of differences among languages today that reflected that independence. Learned song arose independently in parrots, hummingbirds, and Ausin songbirds to fulfill similar functions, but the song systems differ in their structure and underlying neurobiology. Eyes arose independently in mammals, insects, and the octopus because it is advantageous to be able to extract information from the visual environment, but the three solutions are very different in their basic structure. Similarly, the advantage of being able to communicate in a flexible and open-ended way might create pressure to develop language in creatures with a generally high level of cognitive complexity, but we have no evidence that more than one kind of language exists. On the contrary, the same principles of universal grammar seem to obtain in all human languages.